G'day everyone, Pro Muso here. Today I'm going to go through a complete walkthrough of the VL3X using the iPad. Everything from song choice through to performance. Stick around. Alright, just to give you a bit of an outline on what I'm going to cover in today's video, I'm going to do the VL3X outputs to mixer, which is important. You need different mixers to your mixer. How to create a channel in the VL3X. Setting up reverb sound, guitar amp, guitar reverb, guitar delay, if any. Then I'm going to show you how to import a backing track. And then I'm going to show you how to set up automation on those backing tracks so you don't have to tap dance all over your VL3X. Next comes iPad connectivity through Band Helper. How to create a song, add a backing track, add a document, set auto scroll, and set your MIDI to your VL3X. So when you click on a song, it selects the preset. Then I'm going to export the performance for saving, and then we're just going to see how everything works. Alright, so we've got outputs to the mixer. Alright, here we have the back of the unit. We want our XLR goes to the left mono, that's our microphone. Want the guitar, all in these outputs here. Output guitar and output headphones, that's for our tracks. Now one thing I don't want to forget is this cable, right? This is a USB camera connector, right? It's got a lightning connection, it's got a USB for camera and also a charger, which is important. You can get the thin ones that are just the USB, but if your iPad ends up losing charge at a gig, you've got no way of charging it. So you need to get one of these double ones. Get an Apple one. Make sure you get an Apple one because the other ones won't connect. All right, and we put a USB cable in here, and this end goes into our iPad. This end goes to a charger to charge it. Okay. Now the other end of this, there's got to be one of these connections, which goes into this little sucker here, right? That sucker there, this cable connects your MIDI to your iPad. This cable connects your iPad to MIDI to the VL3. All right? Very important. I haven't mentioned that before, but I've had a couple of questions about it. And so that's how you connect your iPad to the VLX. All right, moving on. All right, so now it's time to create a channel. So we need to pick a channel that we're not already using, right? So I'm just going to pick a random channel that's a default on the system. First of all, we want to change the name of it. So we just click Store. And you can see what I'm doing here anyway. It's all self-explanatory here. And we're going to call this New Gravity because I'm going to use the track Gravity, but I've already got one called Gravity, so I'm going to call it New Gravity. There we go, the name's changed. I'm going to turn off anything that it's got on the default because I want to clear system with no. You see how all these have got stuff on them. So I want a bit of a clean canvas on here. So we want to set this up basically, okay? We just want a good vocal sound and a good guitar sound. Okay, so we'll start with the vocal. So what we do here is we go to the vocal channel. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to select our reverb channel. Right, so we go to our vocal, and as you can see here, as I scroll through the vocals, there's a whole bunch of different options there. But, I mean, that's a deep dive. We're just going to do it basically. So we want reverb. Now, this is Gravity by John Mayer. So I want an appropriate reverb. Now, I know that this is a common one that I use. But whatever you decide to use, what I've learnt to do is, especially when I'm learning with backing tracks, I'll get the backing track and I'll isolate the vocal and I'll listen to the reverb and I'll basically copy the reverb sound. And I'll just go through and I'll just tweak it until it sounds like the reverb in the track. And I'll just copy it for each individual preset. And make sure I've got the appropriate reverb for that song. So this is my reverb sound. Make sure you click on. Okay. That means it's going to be on all the time. And always make sure double click store. Okay, so now my reverb is stored in there. That's sorted. Next we want a guitar sound. So we go to guitar. I want acoustic guitar. I scroll all the way to the left here. It gives me acoustic. Okay, acoustic on. Obviously you can select, if you play electric guitar, you can select through a whole bunch of different options here. They're fantastic, really. But I use acoustic, so acoustic guitar, store. There we go. My acoustic guitar is set. Now, what if I want some reverb on the acoustic guitar? Well, we go to guitar. We find reverb. Right. We go through all our different options for reverb. Make sure it's on. Store. Bang. Reverb set. Okay, now you always got to make sure you save it as you go. Because if you go to a different channel and then go back, those saves won't be saved unless you double press store. Alright, so now we've got our vocals and our guitar ready for the track. Let's import the track itself. So I've got a copy of Gravity on here. We just put it on a USB. Whack it in the USB slot at the back there. So all we do here is once we've got our USB in there with the MP3 of the backing track on it, we press store. We come over here to these two buttons. Press. You can either press and hold. That'll take you to the very end of this, or you can just scroll through the tracks, right? So we want to go to track import, and you'll see here there'll be an info version of it with that underscore, but this is the actual track here. The second one here is the actual track. If you try and import this here, nothing will happen. That's just some kind of info file. So you choose the one with just the name, and we click once, and we'll see a little asterisk. Might zoom in here a little bit so we can see as best we can. So we click here once, a little asterisk, and then we want to press and hold. You'll get this. Are you sure you want to import track? Just scroll to the right. Okay, yes. Click, and it will start importing the track, which is exactly what we want. This will take a couple of minutes if you've got an MP3 file. If you use a WAV file, it's going to take a lot longer. I always use MP3s.
Hey, how you doing? What are you talking to me? What are you getting cute, fresh, fucking funny with me? Eh? I'm just waiting for the track to load. What are you gonna do?
Alright, there's 100%. Don't click anything yet until this has gone to another screen, which it'll do in a second. There we go. import finished. Press any key to exit. So your backing track is imported, right? It's not imported into the preset, it's just imported into the unit. So now we have to import the backing track that's imported within the unit to import within the preset. How do we do that? So that's really easy. We just click looper here, scroll over to backing track. You'll see that preset has no backing tracks assigned. So we want to scroll with this wheel until we find that track called Gravity that we just imported. You can see all my other ones in here that I've got. Oops, let's go back. G, there it is. Gravity, there it is. Now track gain, I always put it to -1. So whatever you choose to do it, make sure they're all uniform. Double click store. Now that backing track is imported into the preset. So now we want to assign a button to that backing track so we can press it when we're playing live. All right, now this is where I'm going to get into some button mapping, okay? Now button mapping is super useful. Basically it means, you see these 6 slots here, we can assign anything within the unit to those slots. And all that means is that even though we've set our guitar sound and everything, they don't have to be on here to be active, right? These 6 spots here are what you can assign to be active to use within your foot pedals. As you probably know, this button here is assigned to the vocal bunch of 6 slots. If I press this button here, it'll take me to the guitar screen, and you'll see these have all changed. So while you're in the song, you can flip between them. Essentially, you've got 12 presets that you can use. Now, I only use the vocal channel because I don't need any more than 6 slots when I'm playing. So I'm going to assign whatever I want into these slots. Now, just because it's on vocal channel doesn't mean that all these need to be vocal, right? I can use the vocal channel and change something to guitar here. For example, let's say I want to put some guitar related button here on the vocal channel. Well, I can. I'll give you an example. I go to my vocal channel, right? I go all the way, this is within my vocal channel here. If I go all the way to the right and then back 2, I get the button map screen. Now basically that means that row 1 here, as you'll see, is assigned to these. Row 1, U-mod delay reverb, U-mod delay reverb. Row 2, hit double harmony, hit double harmony. Okay, so all that means is that we can change these to whatever we want. So let's say, for example, this is a vocal delay. I want to change that to a guitar delay. So I can scroll through all of these till I get to some guitar delay. Now you see how that's changed color? That's changed color to red, which means it's a guitar channel. But even though we're on the vocal channel, I've set a guitar purpose button on the vocal channel. If I double click store, now you can see here this icon has changed to guitar. So even though, like I said, we're on the vocal channel, we're not on the guitar channel, we're on the vocal channel, but we can mix and match them, which is super handy. And just so you don't get too confused, if we change, let's say we change this reverb sound, you can see that's activated. The vocal reverb, if I go back, vocal reverb is set to on. If we change that button map to something else, right? Let's change it to a guitar compressor. Now you can see it's changed to guitar compressor, but that reverb that we had is still active. If I go back to vocal and I go back to reverb, it's still active. Just because it's not on here doesn't mean it's not active. So you can activate anything. This is just so we can assign buttons when we play live. And you can also see, even though the guitar compressor is on the home screen, it's not actually activated yet, because if I go into the button mapping again, you'll get used to this. So if I go to guitar compressor, you can see that it's off. If I turn that on, when I go back home, you can see that it's activated there. Right? Now if I want to just activate something as I go, but I don't want it on all the time, all I need to do is put it on. Hopefully you can see this little menu at the top. And if you can't, I'm going to scroll in. So you, right, this little menu up here, if I want it to be not activated, if I want to activate it by pressing the button but not having it on all the time, I put it on hit on, and then I go back home. You see it's not activated, but if I click, crying out loud, I've got to keep changing this screen so you can see the buttons. You can see that it's assigned to this button. If I hit it, it will activate it, deactivate it, etc. Right? So hopefully you understand that. Now let's go to the backing track. How do we set up a button for the backing track? Well, you probably should know by now, but if we go to the vocal channel, and we're in button map, let's say we want to set up this button here to activate the track. Okay, I've got this one here. I just want to scroll through until I get to the track, which I know is right at the very end, and you'll see it actually turns pink, which is really handy, because it's just handy to have them color coded. I know the pink is always a track. So I've set the UMod button to utilize the track start. Double click store, and there we have the track. So now when we play live, we've got a button to start the track. Beautiful, right? That's all there is to it. Now what I want to show you is some automation. So now we've got a backing track in there. We can use automation to do our foot switch changes and record them to the timestamp of the track. So if I press hold this will now take me into the backing track. As you'll see here, you've got a bunch of options. Now I'm not going to go through all the options, but just the basic ones that we need. So we've got record here. We want to record the track. This button here is assigned to the record function. If I press that, basically whatever I do now is going to record any of these changes that I make. Right? So I just randomly selected a few buttons to show you. If I go back into this now, you can see here, these have made those changes. So if I play this track back, we're going to have to click this to go back. If I play this track back, you're going to see these changes. Magic, huh? All right, you get the idea. So now always make sure we double press store. Now those changes have been stored. Now there's also a great system of overdubbing. So if you've already recorded something, but you want to record something again, but not lose what you've recorded before, we can press and hold this button, and that's going to change this to overdub mode. So now, when we press overdub mode, it's not going to lose the changes that we made before, but we can make more changes in addition. Right? Save. So if I go back to the track, if I click and hold, go back, there's even more changes there you can see, because we're in overdub mode. If I had used record mode, it would have recorded straight over what I'd done before. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense to you. This is a redo or an undo. Undo last changes. Actually, it's not going to do it because I saved the song, but if we make changes and we don't like them, we can just press undo and that will undo it, as long as you don't save it like I just did. But you get the idea. If you want to delete the changes, we don't want to delete the track, we go right over this left hand, right over here, the very left hand one here, which is assigned to this. Press that, and then we've got a little rubbish bin. Press hold and it will erase those changes. Alright, I want to go exit, there's a little door there, exit back to the main screen. Okay, hopefully that makes sense for automation. Now, one more thing I want to add is that let's say you want to change the guitar sound. Now, you can't change the guitar sound within the one preset. Let me zoom out here so you can see. Unless you add a step to the channel. Now, what this does is actually, it just essentially adds another preset within the preset. I'll show you what I mean. If I press this, if I press step, hold, I press again, it's going to add a step. You'll see this button's now highlighted. And what that basically means is that it's added a new step, essentially a new preset to the preset, which, if you think about, adds a whole infinite amount of steps. So why do I want to use that? Well, I want to change my guitar amp to an electric amp because I want to do a solo, right? So now I have two steps, right? Essentially two presets within the one preset. So in order to change my acoustic amp to an electric amp for a solo, I need to add the step. So what do? Well, if I keep pressing step here, it's going to scroll between step 1, step 2, right? Now I can even add another step. If I press and hold, add another step, there's another one. It's going to scroll through 1, 2, 3. All right, if you want to delete the step, we press this. All right. So now it's essentially the step 1 is the original one, which the acoustic guitar is on. So if I go to guitar, there's the acoustic guitar amp. Now I want to change guitar amps, so I go to step 2, go to my guitar, and I can change it to whatever I want. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to click a random one, double click, store. Okay, so now when we scroll through, step 1 is going to have my acoustic amp. Step 2 is going to have my electric amp. So when I play the track and I get to the solo, I want to change it to an electric amp. So let's go to track here. So let's say we're right up. So we come up here to about where the solo is. Now I'm not going to get it exactly, so just to give you an example. So we record. Here comes the solo. You know, okay, let's say the solo comes in here. Boom, it's changed to step 2, which basically means it's changed my amp. Do the solo, bang, bang, bang. Let's say the solo finishes here. Bang, back to my acoustic. Now hopefully that makes sense. So if I go back to the backing track, you'll see these little changes here, right? That's where I've changed from step 1 to step 2 to do a solo, and then back to my acoustic amp. So if I play this, you'll see it's going to change to step 2. And then back to step 1, which is my acoustic sound again. Okay, so you get the idea. And then we go save. Always make sure you save it. And now, when I go to play the track, it's going to remember all those changes, and Bob's your uncle. Now, one more thing. Let's say I often use delay. So I want to choose the right tempo for the delay sound. Okay, so what do? Okay, I want to set up a guitar delay sound on this channel. So I go to my vocal channel, because that's what I'm looking at, and I want to button map this here to guitar delay. Right, let's find guitar delay, store. Okay, the delay's there. I want to make sure it's activated. Now it should by default be activated. Let's have a look. Delay, we want to activate it all the time, so we want delay to be on all the time, right? So there's the delay there. We'll basically had it on that channel as well. I'll just take it off that channel so it doesn't confuse us, right? So this is my delay. I want to do a tap tempo on the delay, so I'm just going to play the track. If I press and hold delay, it's going to give me a tap tempo. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That's the tempo I want. Double click store. Now the delay is set to the timing of the track. So there's my new preset, set up, named. I've set up my vocal, reverb. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of other options you can go in there to use. For example, harmonies. If I go into my vocal harmony, you know, we want one high harmony. I mean, there's so many options in here that you can choose, right? We want it on hit on. So if I want my harmony to come in, have it on hit on. Choose the harmonies I want. I'm not going to go through them all. You'll get the picture. You know, let's say I want a high and a low harmony. Now keep in mind, this is only going to work if you're actually playing guitar. You're playing triads, because the unit will know what triads you're playing, and then will choose the correct harmonies. You can set the harmonies. I've never used it because I play guitar. I don't need to. You can set them, but I'm not going to go into it because I've never actually needed to do it. But so there's my harmony there. So as the song's playing and I want the harmonies to come in, bang, click the harmonies. I want them to come out, off, you know, and you can record them within the track. So you don't have to tap dance all over the unit, and it actually really frees up your mind. Okay, one more thing. Let's say I want to boost my guitar signal for a solo. I don't need to change the amp or anything. I just need to boost the signal. All right, so what do I want to do? I want to set up a drive, a guitar drive here. You can see here. I want to set that up. I want to button map that so I can click it and just boost the signal a little bit. Okay, so what do? We go to our vocal channel, because that's the one we're looking at. We go to button mapping, button map. Let's say I want to set it up on
on this channel here under the delay pedal. Let's go to guitar amp. Alright, guitar drive is going to be the one we want. Double click store. So we've got the drive button here, right? So we go into our guitar and we set up whatever, however you want it. You know, you set it up to a couple of dB over your existing sound. We want it on hit. Okay, store. And so every time you get to your solo and you just want to boost the drive, bang, just press that button. And you can do that manually, or you can record the changes in there to the track. Record. Bang, I want a bit of a boost on my drive. Take it off. Store. Now that's going to be stored in there. So just play around with it, especially with the button mapping, because you can customize it to whatever you want. I normally will set up the tracks on this channel, you know, my harmonies down here, but whatever's going to be most comfortable for you, just button map everything to a bit of a system that you're going to use. All right, moving on. All right, so now we're in Band Helper, right? We want to add a song. All right, so we go to songs, click the plus icon. We want to call it Gravity. Now I've already got one called Gravity, so I'm going to call it New Gravity, so you know the difference. New Gravity. I like to color code mine. Duration. So we want to put in the duration of the backing track. So find out what the actual duration of the backing track is. So when you put your document in, it will know how to auto scroll. Right. We're going to add MIDI presets. Now we need to save this. So we press save down here. So we've saved that, and now we've got the song there. And from there, this opens up the documents. So now, in order to add documents, make sure you have them on your iPad. Now I've already got my Gravity in there. So my document's in there. If you want to, you can create a new document and edit the document the way you want. I do have another video on how to add documents, which goes into much detail. So I'm not going to go into it here, but this is where you access it through your iPad. Okay. And now I always like to add the recording in there. Right. So you can add recordings in there as well, which I also go through. Which I'll just add here. So I've got my recordings. I want to click this icon down the bottom here with the tick. Save. Alright, and that's pretty much all I'll really need. So if I go back here, back, and then I want to go into my smart lists, and I have it in here. This is my view. Like I said, I've got another video on how to do all this stuff. I think I've got 2 videos on how to do all this stuff. So so go and check those out if you don't know what you're doing here. But if I go down to here, then I've got New Gravity here. Right, now one thing I haven't explained is how to add the MIDI preset. So we want to set up our iPad to talk to our VL3X. So we need to go into Band Helper, select Repertoire, search down the list until you see MIDI devices. We have to set up a MIDI device. And you'll see I've already got one set up there for mine, but yours will probably be blank. So you've got to add, click the plus icon, add. We're adding a MIDI device, call it VL3X. All ports, select channel 1. I can't select it because I've already got one there, but I'm going to select channel 2 there, right? And then down the bottom in the tick, in the box, just press save. And that's your, now you've got a a VLX channel to use. So we go back, and now we want to set up a MIDI preset. So we click on MIDI preset, right? You can see I've got a whole bunch there anyway, but yours will probably be blank at this moment if you haven't done it. So click add preset. We're going to call this New Gravity. This is not the song, this is just the preset. Okay? In order to select a channel, or to tell your iPad to select a particular channel on your VLX, it goes up in increments of from 0 to 127. Once it gets to 127, it sort of starts over again. And so 1 would be 129. So I'm going to tell you how I work it out on my channel. My channel is 352, right? So what I have to do is, I'm using a calculator at the moment, and I'm 127 plus 127. Now that's twice I've added 127, so I can put 2 in that second box. So 127 plus 127 is 254. So if I go minus 352, which is my channel, I get the number 98. Now because I've done this iteration 3 times, I've done it twice to add 127 twice, and then I've got some left over. So that adds up to 3 because we've got to add the 0. So the 98 needs to be subtracted by 3. So the answer is 295. That'll be my channel to activate channel 352. I'm going to save that, and so all I do is press save down the bottom, and then when I go to MIDI presets, I have a look, I search for New Gravity. There it is, New Gravity, and I can look at the channel 295, which is actually channel 352. I hope that makes sense. It's been something that's confused me for a long time, but just play around with it. Even if you get close, check it. So then you go back to your song, right, and you select it and you plug it in, and once you select it, the MIDI will be selected, and then see what channel it goes to. And if you're a couple of channels off, then just minus or subtract whatever you need to get to the right channel. That's how I've done it in the past, but you can work it out mathematically. But you can also get to a MIDI preset that you've done before that's very close to the one, and find out what preset number that is, and simply minus or subtract however many it is near that preset. Hope that makes sense. I probably don't explain it very well, but you'll get the hang of it. Alright guys, that's going to just about do it for this video. I'm going to sign off from this screen, but I hope you have some success with this. If you do have any questions, then just pop in a comment, and I'll be sure to answer them. That's about it. Alright. Cheers guys.